Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to NFL Thoughts. So if there's anything that NFL Week 13 showed us this week is two things. One, Joe Burrow owns Patrick Mahomes, and two, the two best teams in the NFC are the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So that's basically what Week 13 showed us. And now let's get down to these predictions. I thought that for the week overall it was all right. There weren't any upsets. There almost was one, which was ridiculous how it happened, but nonetheless, let's get right into it. Bills versus Patriots. Well, I'm going to say this right now. I don't trust the Patriots to win any game, for the rest of this week, for the rest of this year. So there's going to expect me to pick against the Patriots in a lot of these games. That's all I'm saying, because their offense is just terrible. I thought that the Patriots were going to get a little bit of confidence with that game against Minnesota where their offense looked pretty good. But, yeah, man. I thought that Bill Belichick would, I was wrong. I thought Bill Belichick would have found a way to win this game. But he didn't. Josh Allen is still a beast. He is. And the Buffalo Bills in this game really dominated New England from start to finish. And, they basically looked like they basically looked like the Buffalo Bills of old. What they looked like the first 7 games of the season. And yeah, they beat the Patriots, and that's all I really got to say. Packers versus Bears. Now, I wound up finding out that Justin Fields did play in this game. And they had a 16-3 lead. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it looks like that prediction's going to be wrong. But I'm thinking to myself, both Bears predictions are literally going to be decided because I thought Justin Fields would play or Justin Fields would not play. I thought that he was going to sit out another week this week, but he didn't. And they had a 16-3 lead, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness. But Aaron Rodgers made a 13-point comeback, and they came back and made it 20-19. Justin Fields threw an interception, and the Packers would score another touchdown with Christian Watson, who is starting to come alive, by the way. And I'm just upset because none of this started until he played us. So, but it is what it is. At least we don't have to worry about him being a one-game wonder, and it was against us. So, with that being said, Packers, got the dub, and they took care of business after coming back. And Justin Fields, this was the first time, that he really did not play very well. Of course, he's still going to show you a lot with his legs, but as overall, passing and running, he wasn't very good. Steelers versus Falcons. Well, I was definitely right to change my answer on this. And, I picked the Steelers to win this game. Of course, Mike Tomlin, he just knows when the Steelers' backs are against the wall, he just has a way of being able to get them back on track and they end up somehow, some way, just barely missing the playoffs, you know. And I feel like that's probably going to happen this year. You know, they're probably barely going to miss the playoffs. And Mike Tomlin, as crazy as it sounds, they might just very well still end up not having a losing record under Mike Tomlin. But with that being said, Steelers got the dub, and they basically beat the Falcons at their own game. And it was thanks to Najee Harris and him being healthy and running well in this game. You know, they beat the Falcons at their own game, running the ball and playing great defense, and that's basically what this game came down to. Jets versus the Vikings. This was a crazy game. And, you know, the Vikings basically got up to a 17-point lead, and we're thinking, oh, well, the Vikings finally flexing their muscles on an opponent. Well, they didn't. They actually allowed the Jets to come all the way back with field goals, which is, I know, crazy, even to me. But nonetheless, the Jets did get themselves back into that game with field goals. And it's because for a while, the Vikings in the second half were doing absolutely nothing. But it wasn't thanks in large part to the Jets' defense stiffening and getting pressure on Kirk Cousins, and they were able to get themselves back into the game. But nonetheless, Mike White was not able to have his clutch gene activated. Nonetheless, Mike White is he does give the Jets a better chance to win than Zach Wilson. And that's putting it lightly. Jaguars versus Lions. Whoa! Man. Like, I knew the Lions were going to win, but this game, I mean, this was a shellacking. I mean, everybody, the Lions offense, they were all in cahoots. You know, they had chemistry. Everything was working. Jared Goff looked like September Jared Goff again. And, you know, the Lions offense just played very well. And apparently they scored on their first 8 possessions of the game. That's crazy. Nonetheless, the Lions won in a 40-14 blowout. And honestly, they still have a chance to make the postseason. Like, there's 5 games left. If they can win these final 5 games, they could go 10-7, and who knows, that might be good enough to make the postseason. You know, like, call me crazy for actually thinking that the Lions can run the table and just do something incredible. But I got faith in Dan Campbell and the Lions. I'm not going to lie to you. Titans versus the Eagles. Well, look, I hate to say it, but Eagles, they're the best team in the league. And the Chiefs folded. They slipped up against Cincinnati on Sunday. So I have no choice but to put you guys at the top right now as the best team in the NFL. Y'all are a lot better than I thought you were. Alright, I would like to make an apology to Jalen Hurts. As much as it kind of came out of my hate for the Eagles, you know, at the same time, I just really did. How many people really had belief in Jalen Hurts that he would have a season like this? Not very many. You know, not very many, except for, at the time, I thought delusional Eagle fans. But nonetheless, you know, like I said, I would like to make a apology to Jalen Hurts. I thought that dude was was technically a running back at quarterback, who when exposed and forced to have to win with his arm, that he will, fold and he would slip up, if you make him have to beat you with his arm. So far this year, and especially on Sunday against Tennessee, I'm not going to lie, man. Jalen Hurts, for the first time all year long, I truly believe that he had an MVP caliber performance. He had an MVP caliber performance. He threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He ran for 1. And he did all this while throwing the ball, I believe, 40 times. Like, Jalen Hurts doesn't have performances like that throwing the ball 40 times. Jalen Hurts isn't supposed to have nice things. But he went out there and he did it. I would like to give out an apology to Jalen Hurts. You played like an MVP quarterback on Sunday. And trust me, alright, any person that knows me, any of my colleagues from school that knows how big of a Cowboys fan I am and how big of an Eagles hater I am, would know that I normally do not give Jalen Hurts or the Eagles at all this type of respect. But I'm giving Jalen Hurts respect right now. He played like an MVP quarterback on Sunday. I hate to say it, but he played like an MVP quarterback. And the guy that I believe is going to be league MVP of the league this year, he didn't play bad enough to lose the game, but he didn't play well enough to win the game either. But we will get to that game in a short while. But I hate to say it, but Jalen Hurts played like an MVP quarterback on Sunday. He did. And the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. They are. We're the second best team in the NFC. Yeah. Eagles, I have respect for you. I don't like you. I hate you. But I do have respect for you after that absolutely demolishment that they put on the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. Maybe they would come out with the win, but I didn't expect that. I did not expect that in the slightest. But it is what it is. They won the game, and that's all I gotta say. Browns versus the Texans. This game, the Browns won in convincing fashion, but at the same time, the Texans they played like the worst team in football. They did. The Browns didn't do anything special, but the Texans just did everything horrible. They played bad. And that's all I have to say. Commanders versus the Giants. First time since 1997 that 2 NFC East division opponents got into a tie. And that's all I have to say. That's literally all I can say about that game. I didn't sit down and watch the game, but first time since 1997 that 2 NFC East opponents got into a tie. And I digress. That's all I have to say. Broncos versus Ravens. Ravens, that game was way too close against a horrible Broncos team. But I will give you a little bit of a pass because Lamar Jackson got injured. but he got injured in like the third quarter, I think. So like, why did you only have 3 points? I don't get it. I mean, it is what it is, but they almost lost to the Broncos. Had it not been for a clutch 91-yard drive by Tyler Huntley, they would have lost that football game, and it would have been the biggest surprise of the year. Not the Giants beating the Ravens, not the Giants beating the Titans, but it would have been this game right here. Dolphins versus the 49ers. I hit the nail right on the head on this one. I said Tua Tagovailoa, the 49ers defense was going to frustrate Tua in this game. And for the first time this year, he did not play like an MVP quarterback. He did not. He did not play like an MVP quarterback. Before the Eagles-Titans game, what Jalen Hurts did, and before this game between the Dolphins and the 49ers, I actually had Tua as the front runner behind Patrick Mahomes for league MVP. Second place behind him. After this game, you bump down to third, and Jalen Hurts bumped all the way up to second. And Jimmy G apparently fractured his foot or broke his foot in this game. He's out for the season. And that may or may not bode trouble for the 49ers, depending on how Purdy can do for the 49ers, the rest of the way. Remember, the 49ers have Tom Brady and the Buccaneers next week. But do I think the 49ers are going to win? Probably. Because I'm not going to lie, the Miami Dolphins were a really good football team heading into this game. And Purdy came in and he played well. 3 touchdowns. He threw a pick, but he threw 3 touchdowns. And that's all that needs to be said. I mean, he played a good team and he played well. Now, obviously, the Buccaneers defense is different from the Dolphins defense, but the level of competition isn't. Well, it is. The Dolphins are clearly a way better football team than the Buccaneers, who the 49ers are going to be facing. But at the same time, so I think the 49ers might win that game. But if they lose, I'm not surprised because Purdy is a rookie. So, the lights might be too bright going up against Tom Brady. But we'll see what happens. Seahawks versus Rams. This game was surprisingly a really good football game. Now, everybody says that divisional rivalry matchups, you shouldn't be surprised when those games come down to the wire and they're a back and forth struggle. But I mean, come on. Who really thought that the Seahawks were going to struggle against the Rams? Nonetheless, they won, and Geno Smith cooked. He threw for over 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, I believe. He cooked. And that's all I have to say about that game. Chargers versus Raiders. Chargers, I'm shocked, but at the same time, I'm not. Because, first of all, you guys have been injury-riddled all season long. And then, even when you've been healthy, you've played well below expectations. Well below expectations. And right now, after this loss to Las Vegas, you are now only a game ahead of them in the division standings. You are now 6-6, and the Raiders are now creeping up behind your back at 5-7 all of a sudden, with 3 straight wins. Raiders, well, Good win. Good win, I guess. Chiefs versus Bengals. This was obviously game of the week. And the Bengals actually got off to a hot start. They got off to a 14-3 lead. And then it looked like Mahomes was about to turn the tables on the Cincinnati Bengals when they came back and took a 24-17 lead after Mahomes went airborne for a touchdown. But nonetheless, Joe Burrow owns Patrick Mahomes still, and they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to win the game by the exact final score of the AFC Championship game, 27-24. Joe Burrow just has Mahomes' number. You know, he just has his number. And that's all I got to say. But that was a great game. Great game to be able to sit down and watch. Two great quarterbacks going at it. And this game was as good as advertised. Colts versus the Cowboys. A game that was exactly as advertised. The Cowboys were going to play with their food against the Colts for a little bit. And then they were going to make the Colts going into the fourth quarter look like they're getting somewhere. And then boom! In a blink of an eye, they're going to absolutely demolish them with 33 fourth quarter points and are going to win this game 54-19. Just like we drew it up, fellas. Just like we drew it up. Nothing better than a little bit of a Sunday night tail kicking. I'm not going to say the other word, obviously. This is a kids-friendly YouTube video. But yeah, that was a demolishment. Saints versus the Buccaneers. I'm done with the Saints, man. I seriously am. I'm done with the Saints. I'm done with Dennis Allen, more importantly. I mean, how many times are you gonna go for field goals inside the 5, Dennis Allen? How many times are you gonna go for field goals? Bro, you had a 13-3 lead with 4th and goal from the 4. You gotta go for it and go for the jugular, my guy. You gotta go for the jugular. Alright, go for it. And you could have very much possibly gone up 20-3. But instead you want to kick a field goal and make it just 16-3. You could have had a 3-possession lead that really could have put this game away. But you didn't. You didn't. And this game is very similar to that Colts-Eagles game, where the defense played so well for like almost the entire game, and then they just straight up fell apart in the fourth quarter, mainly because the offense wasn't giving them very many favors, and so unfortunately they fell apart in the fourth quarter. That's what this game showed, man. I'm done with the Saints, and Tom Brady can just add this on as just another one of his clutch fourth quarter comebacks. So, I went 9-6 this week in predictions. So, we fell off a little bit. But, my Cowboys are 9-3. So, I have nothing to be upset about at all. But, yeah, I went 9-6 this week in my predictions. So, with that being said, that has been my time. Like, subscribe. This is NFL Thoughts. Out.